for that lovely introduction. And Bill, thank you so much. So Bill was like saying all of that, and he said there's only 2 words, and I was standing over there waiting to shout out, Bill Foster! So I had to tell a Bill Foster story, because he told a Lisa Madigan story. So way back, I'm on a ladder, so I'm going to get taller. I never get to do this. Way back, I think it was in 2008, so it was toward the beginning of the financial crisis. One of the times I was hauled out to DC to speak in front of Congress was a Friday afternoon, and it was the Financial Services Committee. It was a hearing, and you may or may not know this about DC, but on Friday afternoons, most of your congressional representatives have fled. They've gone back home on Thursday night. So when you have a hearing on a Friday, you don't expect there to be a great turnout. So I show up, and I have lots of important things to say, and there aren't many people to say them to, but Bill Foster was there. And he wasn't just there, you know, if you've also gone out and you've ever watched on C-SPAN because you're bored or engaged, one or the other, you'll see that, well, maybe you won't be able to tell on C-SPAN, but you know what happens? They show up, and they make a little statement, and then they leave. So they're never really sitting there through the whole hearing. Oh my gosh, Bill Foster sat there through at least 2+ hours, start to finish. And he is so smart that he's the only one who was able to ask intelligent questions about, you know, kind of the financing and the numbers. And he's just such an extraordinary individual. But then something else really interesting happened. So the hearing is over. He sat through the whole entire thing, and he says, hey, why don't we go out and have lunch? And I said, okay. So we go and have lunch. Well, the unfortunate thing when you're Bill Foster and you always have a big old target on your back is you're constantly raising money. And so his poor staff person was all upset and all nervous, saying, you know, Bill, you have call time. And Bill's like, no, I actually want to take the time and have the conversation and learn more about the issues. And so I just have to say, I have always been amazed that somebody of Bill Foster's caliber is willing to endure all the idiocy that is involved in running for public office and serving in Washington in particular at this time. But then I learned something else about Bill several months ago. We were having an event in the Thompson Center downtown, and it was an event to honor one of the Freedom Riders and to look back at the history and the anniversary of that.
And Armstrong is right here. Autobiography of a Freedom Rider.
There he is. It's a really, I just said hi to him. I want to, right? I saw him earlier, and so I want to tell you this story because it links Bill's commitment to public service and Tom's commitment to public service so beautifully, because Bill Foster was there, and I wasn't sure why, and he got up and he told all of us about the work that his father had done, and the fact that his father had worked at the Department of Justice and was working on the forefront of the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, and it finally clicked to me. That's why Bill is willing to go through all the craziness that many of us are willing to endure as well, but it's that he has a true public servant's heart. And it came from his family, and I really do want to say, I think the answer to Bill's question earlier, maybe it's Lisa Madigan, but it is definitely Bill Foster. So please, thank you, Bill. Now, there are a lot of other people in this room who have the heart of a public servant, and one of them is absolutely Diane McGuire. Diane and I, for years, when she ran, I mean, wow. And people love Diane, and she's so energetic, and so she's been trying to get me out here for a while, but my schedule, we spent a long time this summer downstate, and so we finally managed to coordinate this today. So I really want to say thank you to Diane for her wonderful work and her wonderful advocacy and her commitment. Now, I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going to miss 800 of you, but Diane's going to come up and make sure that doesn't happen when this is over. But I do want to say, where'd you disappear to on me?
There she is.
Oh, there you are. You're like hiding in the corner. So Regina Brent, you guys all know Regina. So Regina, I don't know, what, 6 months ago, a year ago, says to me...
January 31st, it feels like it's just
January
yesterday.
31st. So Regina says to me, because my office is down the hall from where she used to be in the Attorney General's office, she says to me, now Attorney General, I'm going to be retiring. To which I say, no, you can't retire, because she was such a wonderful part of our office, and so committed, so concerned, so engaging. She hears about a problem, she fixes that problem. And she said to me, she's like, well, don't worry, I'm gonna stay involved in public service. And I said, I'm worried. So she leaves, and now she's really thrown herself with all of her heart and all of her commitment into running for the DuPage County Board. And I just said one thing to Regina, I said, you just need to meet enough people, because as soon as somebody meets you and talks to you, they will see how concerned and committed and great you are. And so I know she's been out there going door to door, working as hard as she can, and I am not just hopeful, but I am sure that you are going to be a member of the DuPage County Board. So thank you so much. So I love Regina, she's the best. Ed is also,
That's right.
Ed is also doing great work and going door to door, and he's soon gonna show up at a train station near you. So show your support. But Ed, we're really excited for you, and you're gonna make it. You just have to keep on doing the work, and it's only what, 6 weeks and 3 days or something. Not that anybody's counting in this room. But let me say this. You know, this is a room of people who are concerned and committed and understand the importance of having really good public servants. I think you have already been just, you know, bombarded with all the great things that I've gotten to do and the fights that I pick and win on people's behalf. But you know what? It's not just me. It's all of us. And so I always look at it this way. It ends up being that if you elect good public servants, we all get the credit for that because we're all doing the work. Now, some people aren't as crazy as Bill is, as I might be, as others might be, but we can't do it without your support. And so you get to take credit for the good things that happen in this state and at the federal level as well. And so I am so proud of the fact that we saw what was taking place when people started coming to the Attorney General's office and they had problems with their mortgages. And so we went and did the investigations of Countrywide. And I was the first Attorney General in the country to bring a lawsuit against Countrywide for their predatory lending practices and the toxic loans they were putting people in. I was the first and only Attorney General who, while we were engaged in that lawsuit, not only found out about the evidence of their discrimination in lending, but actually did the investigation and brought the lawsuits, not just against Countrywide, but against Wells Fargo. Because we learned that if you were African American earning more than $100,000 a year, you were still more likely to be put into a high-cost subprime loan than if you were white and earning less than $35,000 a year. So we brought those lawsuits here in Illinois, and then I took them to the Department of Justice, to the Civil Rights Division, and I said to them, hey, if it's happening here in Chicago and Illinois, it's happening all across the country. And that's exactly what they found as well. And so that resulted ultimately in the 2 largest fair lending settlements in this nation's history. But that wasn't it, right? Because truth be told, what Diane just told you about was our 4th settlement with Bank of America. So then because of the work that I had done on those first 2 issues, I got to be one of our lead negotiators when we sat down with the 5 largest banks to deal with the robo-signing and all the servicing abuses that we saw. $25 billion settlement that ultimately was supposed to bring back $1 billion for homeowners here in Illinois. Well, at the end of the day, it's been nearly $2 billion. And so that $2.8 billion number, that's just from all the lousy mortgage stuff, right? It's terrible. And so the latest settlement, the $300 million that we got from Bank of America, that's all the residential mortgage-backed securities. That's the lousy investments. You know, that's what they were doing. They were bundling the stuff. And then institutional investors, such as our pension systems, were investing in them, and then it lost a lot of money. But now, can I tell you what we're seeing? We're seeing that all those horrible practices that were taking place in the mortgage lending industry are now taking place in the student lending industry. And so it's both the problem that people of good kids, you know, oftentimes first-generation kids have been lured into these lousy for-profit institutions that are poorly accredited, and so these poor kids end up with, you know, crazy debt because they're wildly expensive programs when they could have gone to the community college and gotten a degree for sometimes, I'm not joking, 1/10 of the price. But so many people, 40 million Americans now hold over $1.2 trillion in outstanding student loan debt, and they're struggling, and when they try to get help and they call, unfortunately the servicers are just as lousy as the mortgage servicers were. They're not telling them about the income-based repayment programs and options. They're not telling them about the consolidation programs. Instead, they're really forced to try to get current on their loan, which doesn't make those loans sustainable, and so leaves these kids in the same lousy situation. And so I'm leading a multi-state investigation into Sallie Mae. I've already sued 2 of the scam artists. We've got a dozen more investigations ongoing because they're on the radio now. You'll hear these ads. You know, struggling to pay off your student loans? Well, we can reduce your student loans by half. We can completely eliminate your student loans for free. Call us now. And when you call, they want a huge payment, $500, $1,200. And there's nothing that they can do for you that isn't a free program that's available through the Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education. So we're going after those folks. We're protecting seniors. In fact, I was just out here a week or 2 ago. The mayor gave me one of his fabulous introductions where he doesn't even use the microphone. You know, he's awesome. He's here somewhere. He snuck through. He's hiding. But if he decides to talk, I'll know exactly where he is. But we're working to educate older people about not just the senior scams, but identity theft, Home Depot, Target, Michael's, anyone? So yes, we do a lot of good work on that front. So can I just say this about identity theft? Because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when you are going to be a victim. We have an identity theft unit. I've had an identity theft unit, only AG in the entire country, since 2006. We've helped over 35,000 people, eliminate over $26 million in fraudulent charges from their credit. So please call me. We still have humans. I employ humans to answer our phones every single time. That is my #1 applause line. It's so crazy. That's how bad the world is. So I'm out there on the forefront fighting for people, kids, and I don't want to talk about the ugly, horrible, evil things that happen to kids because we've got some in the room, but you cannot imagine. It's not just a few dozen horrible people, it's thousands and thousands of people. And so I'm proud to be able to do that work. I'm proud to be able to protect older people. I'm proud to be able to protect homeowners and folks dealing with their debt. But I only get to do that with the support of all of you and hundreds, thousands, literally millions of other people in our state. So thank you.